In a 1966 journal article titled Film and Theater, writer and filmmaker Susan Sontag compares the experience of film and theater. Much may be made of the fact that, in its concrete existence, cinema is an object, or a product even, while theater is a performance. She claims, "Is this so important? In a way, no. Whether objects, like films or paintings, or performances, like music or theater, all art is first a mental act, a fact of consciousness." She goes on to say that, with respect to any single experience, it hardly matters that film is usually identical from one projection of it to another, while theater performances are highly mutable. Recently, when I was confined to my home on a Friday evening because quarantine, I saw that the infamous Andrew Lloyd Webber has been releasing high-quality stage recordings of his musicals on YouTube for free. It's part of a fundraiser that he's running to help fund Broadway while it's shut down, and he has generously provided the recordings for several days, as an incentive for people to donate. The musical that was streaming that evening was a little-known feature called The Phantom of the Opera. I had only ever seen the 2004 film that was based on the 1988 musical, and while I had enjoyed it greatly, it is not a well-made film, mostly because of Webber's involvement. This meant that my expectations for the production were set fairly low. The specific recording that was being streamed is considered the gold standard for fans of the musical. It's the 2011 event at the Royal Albert Hall. Cira Bogas is considered the greatest Christine to ever grace the stage, and Ramin Karamo's Phantom is top-notch. Yet, my past experiences with the musical from the film have haunted me. After watching the event, though, my views have completely changed. The stage play was, in a word, amazing. It is bombastic in all the right ways, and where the film adaptation takes itself far too seriously, the stage musical knows what it is. Webber had little involvement with the production, so his frivolous and frankly over-stylized direction is not present. All of these experiences and the utter failure that the film was made me think, is it possible that some musicals cannot be done justice on film? And are some musicals just destined for film? From Singing in the Rain to La La Land, the movie musical has been a staple of the film industry for years. But corporate greed almost killed one of the most popular genres of film. The first bridge between the two mediums came in 1929, when the show Broadway Melody was released to theaters across America and became the first talkie to win Best Picture. In the span of about 30 years, live theater lost most attendance as vaudeville faded and film and television replaced the small-town circuit theaters. In a post-World War II and television-based world, the general public would much rather spend a nickel to see a Gene Kelly double feature than to spend a dime to see a stage show. Studios that produced the films capitalized on this by setting up touring road shows for the openings at an increased price of a dime. While most of these films were epics, akin to the Ten Commandments, the movie musical was the main target for this gimmick. For the dime that the audience spent, they would get some memorabilia, a concessions ticket, and the magic of films shown on 70mm. We still have events like these today. The films of last year, such as Avengers Endgame or Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker, had similar events that studios provided at increased prices. The film library continued to grow, with fantastic additions like An American in Paris, Guys and Dolls, Bye Bye Birdie, Mary Poppins, Cabaret, The Producers, Fiddler on the Roof, and the enormous box office success, The Sound of Music. Film studios also realized that more diverse, culturally issue-based movies like West Side Story could pull even greater audience pools into buying roadshow tickets. However, this all came crashing down when,
Well, Hello.
Look who's here.
Dolly. This is Louis.
Hello, Louis.
Dolly.
Hello, Dolly lost an estimated $10 million at the box office in 1969. That'd be around $70 million today. The world had changed. Studios realized that movie musicals on a grandiose scale were no longer profitable, and more experimental films like Chinatown and Dr. Strangelove were the future, and were both done under a budget of $500,000. From the period of the 1970s to the early 2000s, the movie musical floundered, while stage musicals had a resurgence. Times Square and Covent Garden were cleaned up. Broadway theaters grew, and some of the most popular musicals of the modern stage were produced. Touring companies thrived, and mid-sized towns were seeing live theater again. More inclusive and aware musicals were produced. Then there came a musical that rocked the world, an adaptation of an 1862 French classic novel that was poised to throw Broadway back into the limelight. A Broadway darling that everybody and their parents love. I don't know, you may have heard of it. Les Miserables was the hit of adrenaline that the Broadway stage needed. It had the hit songs and catchy melodies that everybody craved for. The story was wonderful and enduring. Les Mis was single-handedly the piece de resistance of 80s musicals. You will never find a musical more beloved or well-regarded in popular culture. Yeah, I said it. I may be biased because I'm an absolute fiend for Les Mis, but more than anything, Les Miserables showed that adaptations of previous works were wildly successful. Les Miserables and Rent became blockbusters in the 80s and 90s, and received critical acclaim, with Les Miserables based on Victor Hugo's novel of the same name, and Rent based on the Puccini opera La Bohème. The stage musical was once again alive and well. Film studios that had relegated musicals to the domain of children's films and the now dreaded Disney Studios were reassessing their view of movie musicals as a tangible product. Movie musicals such as the 2004 Phantom of the Opera and the Rocky Horror Picture Show were produced and released. However, neither of these films were a success for a litany of reasons. So once again, the movie musical suffered. In the late 1990s to the present, movie musicals and stage musicals have coexisted. In a post-9/11 world, corporate conservatism transformed Broadway into slick productions based on popular films and reboots of popular old shows, like Annie, all driven by profit motives, but little art. Broadway continued to thrive, and the film industry had begun to produce darker and more serious films. There arose stage musicals like Wicked, Hamilton, and Billy Elliot. There were also many well-made movie musicals, such as Les Miserables, Jersey Boys, Sweeney Todd, and Moulin Rouge, which were all mainly successful because of their stylistic filmmaking. There were also musicals that were written specifically for film, like La La Land and The Greatest Showman. So the question has to be asked, can a musical be a good movie and a good stage musical? In my opinion, yes. There can be a story which works well on the stage and on the screen. However, there are only a few stories that seem to do this successfully. It takes a well-written story, compelling characters, catchy songs, and appropriate production values to work. I think that musicals are on the range of a spectrum. They range from fit to film to fit for the stage. In the middle is the sweet spot overlap. I think of musicals like The Phantom of the Opera, perfectly written for the stage because there is audience interaction and a story that is written to be performed on stage. Then there are musicals like La La Land, which seem to really be done justice on the screen because of their subject, style, and scale. Shows that are both stage and screen musical successes are the hardest to come by because they have to fit the dead center. They can't have such a large scale that they don't physically adapt well for the stage, and they must have songs and music that sets them apart from the rest of the genre. One of the greatest examples of this is West Side Story. When the 1957 show was released on Broadway, it received critical acclaim and was also awarded 6 Tonys. When the 1961 film was released, it received excellent reviews and was awarded 10 Oscars, setting a record for the most wins. It was noted in reviews for a diverse cast, compelling story, an adaptation of Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet, and the excellent score by Leonard Bernstein. It captured the rare combined success between the two mediums. A musical, like any work of art, that has depth of vision and leaves you thinking, is a well-crafted success. As the great Broadway playwright Lin-Manuel Miranda said, "The musicals that leave us kind of staggering on our feet are the ones that really reach for a lot." Live theater will never completely die. It is as old as human entertainment itself. Film is just a technological, more easily accessed form of the same thing. The same, but different. It's the differences that are often lost in the corporate pursuit of profit. Stage performers, authors, and craftspeople don't usually cross between film and stage, and therefore it takes a lot of adaptation to make one story work across them both. Yet when it works, it leaves a musical and a story we can go back to again and again.